Hey guys, this is Pablo with Meditation Amsterdam. I wanted to give a shout out before I kick into the video to everyone who's gotten the $7 embodiment course. If you think it's interesting and you think it can help your cultivation path, then you can always check it out in the video description. I also wanted to give a quick comment about some of the comments that are in the comment section of the videos, 99.9% of which are very constructive. I always get a little bit, how would you call it? I'm flattered when a troll decides to to leave a comment in my videos, because it means that the channel is getting a little bit more visible. But for the most part, people are super constructive, and everybody participates a lot in these videos, which is super cool. But every now and then someone leaves a comment saying that they didn't understand what I was trying to explain. And that's even worse than a disagreement by far, because the entire purpose of the channel, of course, has been to try to bring people along a self cultivation journey, and to always provide a plausible and fully understandable bridge of the different steps or elements that are included in getting to whatever point I'm at. And so it's just a bit of a push to continue to try my best to still stay clear, non-controversial, non-flashy, but also non-mystical or woo-woo about the things that I'm explaining, but always to try to use language that is fully understandable, and use physical, mental, emotional language and spiritual where necessary, but keeping things plausible, actually giving a plausible reason why something works in these practices. Anyway, on to the topic of today's video, which is this notion of accepting the internal part of your experiences. It's been my personal experience, and what I gather also from people that I work with, is we tend to make a very funny split in our experience, and it is a split that it's a split that's caused by the illusion of time, or the illusion of cause and effect, when we see things in a dual way. And that split is the split between an action that takes place in the outside world and our internal reaction. And even the word itself, reaction, is almost like implies this sort of cause and effect type of relationship. So I could make a very simple example. Say someone cuts you off in traffic. That's the external event, the action. And you get angry at that person, and that's the reaction. And what tends to happen, especially for those of us who are doing some self-cultivation, trying to understand our mental patterns and the rest, is that we tend to not see the action-reaction as a single pattern, as a single event in experience. And what that'll tend to do, as I said, especially if you're working on yourself, is you will see the action, and you'll try to accept that the action took place because you've been told that you need to surrender to the way things are, or because you're expecting of yourself to be able to be more accepting because you've been meditating, you name it. There could be a number of reasons, or you just want to feel like a good person who, loves his or her brother as themselves, and you could have any of these ideas going on in your mind, and you're trying to then accept the external event. And what we fail to notice is that very often we're trying to accept the external event because we are in rejection of the internal reaction that we had to that event. Now, the problem is that the internal reaction that we've had to the event is part of the perceptual reality of that moment. It is actually one with the event. they come together, right? It's a single thing that happened. X took place, and I felt Y or Z. Now, by the time the reaction has taken place, it's already as much part of the experience as the action that triggered it, and therefore it sits in the same basket of things to be fully accepted as they are. If we try to accept the action, the external action, so that we can make the internal reaction go away, we are in rejection of things as they are. And as I said, we do this because we've drawn this distinction between outside and inside, and between past and future. So there's all these dualities going on here, and they have made us partial in our acceptance of the event. Now, what is it that's really going on here at the end of the day is we are trying to use the mind to accept. And the mind splits things before it can accept them, and then classifies some as good and bad, and now we're in a problem. So that trying to accept with the mind is the more fundamental problem of what's taking place here. We have misunderstood what acceptance means when we talk about it in the Buddhist or spiritual sense of the word. I've made videos about this in the past, but I'll rehash it here anyway. The mind confuses acceptance with liking or wanting. And whenever we try to do that with an event that is dislikable, we're going to not notice that we're doing it because we dislike the reaction inside in the first place. And there's no way to get rid of that reaction. You get into a tug with it. If you try to push it away, it bounces back. If you try to ignore it, you kind of get stuck to it. It has this sort of surface tension to it. And that's because it's reality. You can't make it go away. So the way to understand this so that we don't get caught in this trap is to understand that acceptance means not turning your attention away from something. You see? That's different than liking, and is different than wanting. It has nothing to do with whether the experience is wantable or likable, or unwantable and dislikable. It has to do with the fact that the experience is there, and therefore we are better off penetrating it with our attention, and that means accepting it. It means accepting it perceptually, not emotionally or mentally. This distinction is everything when it comes to the right understanding of what surrender means. Surrender means that if you hate something that someone did to you, you fully imbibe that hate as part of the experience that was already triggered. You accept it 100%. And so you accept it so much, you create such a big and deep and intimate container for it that it has nowhere to go, and it therefore becomes recognized as nothing other than a part of your mind or a fluctuation in your mind. Anything other than this will be a mental version of acceptance that'll get you stuck, because behind the acceptance of the event, or maybe even the acceptance of your reaction, there is in the background an agenda lurking, says I'm accepting it so that I can sort of never feel it again type of thing, or whatever. Any kind of agenda that is in the background through this mental sort of I'm going to try to like this as much as I can is going to be met with that sort of surface tension, getting stuck with your internal reaction. So the crucial point at the end of the day is mind creates fragmentation. Once that fragmentation is created, acceptance gets confused with liking or disliking. It also creates a seeming action-reaction type of split. Behind all of those problems, there is the fact that we are trying to accept things in a mental and emotional way, which you can't do because you already somewhere in the background reject the event or parts of it, including your reaction, potentially, or very likely. And if you make the switch to accepting things perceptually, you have done all you can. The mind could be in full rejection of something. And at the same time, awareness could be completely accepting that rejection because it's enveloping it completely. And that's what we mean by acceptance. Perceptual acceptance, not shifting your focus of attention away from experience, but towards, to make contact, to engage, and to do so as intimately as possible. So much so that every datum of experience becomes recognized as nothing but self. So that's the message for today. Very practical, very practical advice that you could put into action immediately and get some benefits from. Very curious to hear your comments on the video, especially if you didn't understand the explanation, because then I need to refine things. As usual, if you think that this is content that other people can benefit from, then your liking, sharing, and subscribing makes the channel far more visible out there and is very motivating to me. I'll be back with more videos pretty soon. Take care. Cheers.